Welcome to Our Road to Success, the podcast where we chronicle our journey through this mad roadmap to the American dream. My name is Ziggy Kid. I'm a semi-professional freelance voiceover actor and writer coming to you with my co-host,
Christian Hansen, and I am a semi-professional, I don't even know how to describe myself, but apparently I have a big butt, so there we go.
Yeah, we were talking about politics, and I'm going to put a disclaimer right at the top here. I'm having to record this week in a breakfast nook at a Holiday Inn Express, so there may be vacuuming in the background. You may hear other guests in the background, so I very much apologize for any drops in audio quality, but as always, the content is more important than the audio quality, I hope.
You're in a holiday. I thought you were at your apartment.
Oh no, if I was in my apartment, this wouldn't be so bad. Like, I'd go and yell at my roommates to quit fucking vacuuming, but yeah, in this situation, right. I don't have any choice. There's also, like, a kind of loud fridge full of egg and milk and such.
Alright, well, it's fine. I mean, like, it's like 8 o'clock in my thing. I'm recording on the same crappy microphone that I always do. I really need to get better audio equipment for this podcast, because I listened to some episodes the other day, and I was like, my God, my quality is like, it sounds like I'm recording from a tin can.
Yeah, that's mainly because
terrible.
That's mainly because I'm recording you over Skype. If you're recording locally, it'd sound a little bit better, but regardless, it's like,
That's kind of the issue, is like, I used to have a microphone for my computer that's really good, and then I kind of spilled something on it, and the next thing you know, it doesn't work anymore. Fun. Yeah, I know, it was so bad. I spilled, like, apple juice or something all over, and it worked really good for the first couple of days. I was like, yeah, it's working, and then suddenly, like, it's just, everything comes out as, like, sounding like something from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Which is awesome,
I've had to deal with
really good for podcasting.
I've had to deal with my stuff like that, too. Like, my nicest microphone, I dropped it within, like, 3 seconds of taking it out of the case, so it always had problems like that. I'm smart in audio, you know. Yeah.
I'm friends with this one guy in Baltimore. This like one kind of like amateur hip hop artist thing, which I guess isn't really all that special because there's a bajillion amateur hip hop artists out there. But this guy, do you remember maybe like a month or two ago, I was asking you for microphone recommendations?
Yep.
Okay, that was exactly for that. This kid. The guy, not kid, he's like 25, I think. He was like, oh man, I don't know what kind of microphone I need to get. What kind of microphone should I get, Christian? What kind of microphone? And like, I told him specifically, like, it's not necessarily how expensive the microphone is. It's more about your like setup.
Yeah, it's more about how you use it, and then also like if it's hip hop, like listen to some early like even the biggest people like Slim Shady. Just like listen to their early stuff. It sounded like garbage because their equipment sucked, but the fact that they had the talent behind it made it so that people listen anyways because they're like, fuck it. Also, honestly, that's a whole genre, is lo-fi music, is music that's specifically recorded like garbage. It gives it a totally different quality.
Here's the issue with what happened, though, is I tell him, just buy the cheap mic, it'll be good. Like a week later, he tells me like he bought like this. I remember it was like some $500 microphone.
Oh.
Which was ridiculous. And then on top of it, he apparently dropped it the first day.
Oh, yeah, no, that's...
If I remember correctly.
I hope it was under warranty, because he would have wanted to immediately replace it. Because as soon as you drop a nice... If you drop a nice microphone, usually they're heavy enough that the capsule is going to get loose, and that causes all kinds of problems. Like, if it's a cheaper microphone and you drop it, usually it's okay. In fact, if it's a dynamic microphone and you drop it, usually they're just fine, because most of them are designed to be sturdy enough to be used on stage, so they expect you to drop it a couple of times at least.
I never... Okay, so the capsule gets loose, you say?
The capsule, yeah. The actual part of it that... the actual part that records within the microphone is held within, I mean, it'll be held in there in different ways, but generally with a condenser mic, which are the more high-end ones, if you drop it, everything that's holding it in place will fall apart, and then that capsule will just jangle around, and it'll be pressed against the grill, which will cause electrical problems. It'll just not be positioned correctly. It's a whole world of problems, and I mean, I dealt with that, so...
As ridiculously stupid as this sounds, when I was in high school, I used to have this decent microphone that like looked really sturdy, and I would like smash that thing against the wall on like streams and stuff until eventually, like, it started making this, like, whoa noise.
Yep, that'll do it.
I think the tube thing explains it. I think it explains it.
Pretty much, most microphones.
Worth doing it for YouTube views? Absolutely. It was totally worth the 50 views I got for that, like, $300 microphone.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is when you start out, you should spend no more than 50 to maybe $100 on a microphone. Like, even the one I called Nice, that was still only like a $70 microphone. Like, a really good microphone is going to be, let's see, a starting mic shouldn't cost, like, the one I'm using right now, this is only like a $30 microphone, and it's specifically meant for teleconferencing and stuff. And then you go up above that, it's like the prosumer range is in like the $70-$80 range, and then like above that's like $200 to $300. Then above that you get into like the thousands, but that's only if you're like an audio professional or a studio, like setting up a ton of different mics for a ton of different recording artists.
You see, my microphone is the iPhone 7 like headphones that came with it right now, and I get a feeling it's probably one of the reasons why it sounds such like ass.
Yeah, that probably doesn't help it so much. But as always, it's like part of it is how you use it, and another part is the actual environment you use it in. Because you can have an awesome microphone, but if you're using it wrong, it's gonna sound like garbage. And you can have a crap microphone and use it perfectly, and it'll sound so much better.
True that. So anyway, it just hit me. We talked like 10 minutes about microphones. Which is probably a lot more information than we have about like our actual weeks that we had this week.
Yeah, that's actually probably the most content anyone's gonna get out of this episode, because it was a pretty low week for both of us. So let's
have something kind of interesting to say, maybe.
Yeah, let's go with an update on our weekly goals. I can hit through mine really quick. It was the same as last week. I still couldn't find time to record. And I didn't finish the draft. I made headway on it, but I couldn't get all the way through it. I'm having a lot more fun with it, so I feel like it'll work. I'll get through it. It's just like it always takes me longer to write than I think is the main thing.
No, I totally get you, because that's the same way with me. Like, I'll say I can have something finished in like an hour, and then it takes like 5 hours.
Yep.
And it's not that I suck at it. It's just like it legitimately takes longer than it does to take. I mean, on the first project that me and Iggy here were working on, there were so many times where, like, I tell people that we were working with, or the clients, or there'd be just random people. I use the term client here loosely, because a lot of them were just random idiots that I was ordered to work for some weird reasons. Mm-hmm. It's like I tell them, like, yeah, I can have it in like a day, and be like 1 week later, I'm still working on it, but I'll have it today. And like, it's not that I was being lazy. I was working like every fucking day and every goddamn hour. It just never happened.
Yeah, that's just it's the time management thing, which a big part of it I think is just time estimation, of figuring out how long anything is, like the time to complete on something is, I don't know, I feel like we just need to get a better grip on like what amount of time we actually need for something. Like this draft, if I cracked on it solely for a week, I'd probably be able to finish it, and that's what I plan to do with this next week. Like, I'm gonna focus just on this, get it done, because it's been long enough. But yeah,
and actually, now that I think of it, I originally was gonna say there really wasn't meant to an update on my week, outside the fact that barely anything got done. But in the middle of the week, I did actually take the time, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna get my YouTube shit done, I only have 2 months. I really, 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 really need to find a way to get this thing done fast, and get it done fast. So I was gonna use motion capture and stuff like that. But the thing is for this portable mocap suit that I wanted, that you kind of literally just put on like Bluetooth sensors on yourself, and like it kind of connects to a thing. I would still have about like a month and a half of wait time, even if I were to like order it today before I got it. And it's like it's not the middle of November, but it's like a quarter of the way there for November to end. So if I did that would only give me like a week or so to like animate more than like 3 hours worth of content.
Oh boy.
Not really gonna work.
No, well, okay, it could work depending on how heavy duty the editing was, if you optimized your editing pipeline just right.
That's kind of another thing I was thinking. But to go back to the motion capture thing, so I figured, okay, so that's just not going to work. What the fuck can I do to get something now? Because the thing is like, for the kind of stuff that I'm doing, I don't have the time to build just a regular motion capture studio where like use the green screen, you use like the sense, just the fucking like bubble sensors, and you have like the high-tech cameras. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the resources. I don't have the people to do it. I needed to find something to do it. So it hit me. I was like, wait a second. Microsoft Connect. Because those things can actually record like motions and stuff. So I was like, okay, let's go online. Let's, see what motion capture thing. And, like most people who do this generally are using crap like Source Filmmaker or like Gmod and stuff to make cartoons and stuff with the fucking Connect. But you see, the thing is, what blew me away is if you use two of them, you can actually get some pretty like high quality results. I mean, granted, you're not going to be able to do like super, super, super advanced things. But for the kind of stuff I'm doing, where I'm trying to do something, I guess, more akin to, I want to say Eastern animation. It would work. It would work really well because all I got to do is I got to like actually just have me or someone else get in there, do the movements, and then you can kind of just splice it up in Maya or Blender or whatever you want, and then just apply filters to make it just have that like really nice 2D look to it.
I mean, yeah, you can work within your limitations, and you might have to cut corners, but considering that you're the one who's working on it, it's like I think people could forgive what the end product is if it's a little lackluster, considering it's not a whole team and like an entire server farm dedicated to it.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking about, but I'll bring that up later, because that just kind of popped into my head today, and also popped into my head, like, I'd never thought about it before we started recording.
Yeah.
I'd really think about talking about it. But, I mean, I guess to go back to my weekly goals, pretty much nothing got done because I was too busy moping around and feeling sad. And the final time I realized, okay, I'm done moping around being sad. First step we need to do is we need to buy some domain names.
Yes.
Just get things going. And I was like, okay, cool. Where's my debit card? Oh, crap, I don't have my debit card. Well, I can go to the bank and get a new one tomorrow for free. I go to the bank. It's closed for the day. And I'm like, oh, crap. Well, what about tomorrow? I go tomorrow. It's closed. And then Sunday, which is today, it's closed. And I'm like, fuck.
The worst.
That's like 3 days wasted. Because I couldn't even do the first step. Although that's not a good excuse. I could be doing other things with my time instead of waiting around and moping like an idiot. But that's just what happened. So
yeah. So let's move on to our current financial situation really quick. My bank balance, to be quick, is $119.70, which it would be about $100 shorter, but due to circumstances that I will detail in our future situations towards the end, it's actually not doing too bad. Generally, I would have spent another $100 on a car payment, but yeah, I'll get into that later. So
okay.
Christian, where you at?
I have like $48 in my bank account right now.
That's
and then
not
I
bad.
have like $15 on my desk, and I have a bunch of quarters, and I think I have like 75 cents in my PayPal. So I mean, it's better than it's been. It's better than it's been.
Yeah, you're definitely on an upward curve.
Yes, a very slow, but
Which I mean is
upward curve.
Is pretty encouraging considering the total money we're making from projects, which for me is zero still.
Yeah, well, the thing is with me though is like I've been saying this since fucking for like weeks on end, maybe even months on end now. Holy shit! It's like if I were to do the thing that I was going to do, projected profits for like one fucking product that like I was going to have on sale like days ago, but couldn't because of the whole like bank situation. Like projected profits that would be like $20,000 in 2 weeks.
Shit,
that's a lot of money. That's a lot of fucking money. And I am going to need to do that because I need that money so I can do other things. I just need to get off my fucking ass and not just get off my fucking ass, but like stop moping around and being like, oh, I feel so bad. Oh, I'm so scared that I'm gonna be judged or found out as being this, and just fucking do it. Like, just seriously.
Exactly.
It's so dumb. It is so stupid, and oh god, it's ridiculous. So anyway,
project
let's move
updates.
On. Well, I talked a little about a couple things. I mentioned earlier that the whole like motion capture transformation connect and stuff. I think very, very, very early on in this podcast, I mentioned that I was going to be doing some like esports type thing. Should I talk about that right now, or?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so something that I've been doing, because I mentioned I wanted YouTube stuff, is I don't have the resources, like, and the thing is with YouTube, sorry, I'm going to backtrack here. The thing is with YouTube, before I get into what I'm going to do with it, is to really succeed at their algorithm, you have to do two things. You have to be consistent with your uploads, and you also have to put longer uploads out there that equal, like, more watch time.
True. Retention time.
This is generally why... Exactly. This is why Let's Players have probably the biggest advantage of, like, any other, like, creative type out there. Because all they really have to do is record themselves playing something. It doesn't even have to be, like, good editing. They just have to, like, record it, and then you can just slap it up.
Yeah, all you have to do is
boom,
you record
like
it, you sync it, you chop it into chunks, and you're good.
So, for me, though, because I want to focus not necessarily on Let's Plays or, like... I want to focus on just a whole different type of content. And when I say different, I mean kind of like different on YouTube. I want to actually like have like kind of like almost like a premium like special feel to it, as opposed to like everything else on YouTube, which is feels very amateur, feels kind of this dumb, stupid, and vloggy kind of thing. So on Saturdays, I was trying to say, hey, let's do gaming content, but not necessarily make it like a Let's Play. Let's make it more like a mockumentary type thing of like me going into like esports tournaments and stuff like that. And one of them would be Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to get like really good at Smash Brothers. And for the longest time, I was like, oh my god, I'm terrible at this. There's no way I'm gonna win. Same thing with the other games. Like fucking League of Legends is another one that I was really bad at. Street Fighter is another one I was really bad at.
League of Legends is BS though, because literally playing the game, you can practice for years, like solid years on end, and never get better at it because it's such an unintuitive game that there's nothing about actually playing it that teaches you how to play it. You basically have to go out and find someone to teach you.
Well, that's I'll talk about that in another podcast, and you're right. You are absolutely right there. But to get back into Smash Brothers and stuff, I was really bad at it. And then I was like, okay, so if I'm really bad at it, let's think about Tim Ferriss as like the 80-20 principle or 20-80 principle, whatever it's called, which is pretty much like 20% of the work equals like 80% of the results.
Yes,
which is true. So I was like, okay, if it's a fighting game like this, and this is kind of new, so like very few people have like actually analyzed this in such a deep way. So I decided to think outside the box. I was like, okay, let's do something I'm pretty sure no one in this community has ever done. Let's go read The Art of War, and let's go be able to apply that to this game. And to summarize The Art of War in like one sentence, it's pretty much all warfare is based on deception. So in other words, it doesn't matter if you're weak or strong, you got to trick your opponent into like thinking you're weak when you're really strong, or trick your opponent into thinking you're strong when you're really weak. Once you do that, they will open themselves up and they will like pretty much allow you to attack them. Or, let's say you're really weak, but they think you're really strong, they won't attack you and you'll have time to like recuperate and do things like that. So I applied that same like bit of knowledge to like as I was playing the fucking game, and I like literally what happened is, one day I'm just out there sucking ass and it's doing really bad. Like, the next day I apply that, like, boom, everything changes. I'm winning pretty much every freaking match I can get. I'm getting matched up with, like, people you can tell are, like, professional players. In fact, a couple of them I looked at their usernames were, like, top-tier players getting, like, paid, like, thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a game, and I was whooping their asses. Like, it blew me away. And the reason it blew me away is because, like, in this weird community, it's like people are so obsessed with kind of like not necessarily like learning how to win, but just trying to learn the fucking style of the people who have won, that they forget, just the reasons why these people have won to begin with.
Right, that's the thing. They're focusing too much on the meta technique of like, okay, this is what you need to do to win, that everyone does. They don't actually look at like, hey, here's how actual fighting works, which is you have to trick your opponent. You have to work around what they're going to do. And if everyone's doing it this way, you got to work around that.
Exactly. It is so crazy. And like, the more that I think about it, it doesn't matter, what game it is. Hell, it can even be like a professional sport. If you apply this, and you do it well, you can pretty much win anything. Although, granted, I say actual sports, you do also have to be, like, physically fit and whatnot to be able to pull it off. But, as far as, like,
Well, that's the thing is that that's the thing is that, like, everyone needs to have the technical skill. Like, to get into the higher tier, you have to have an actual technical skill. But once you have that technical skill, if that's all you have, you're going to lose to someone who has more technique that they put into it, where they'd actually come up with a way to use that technical skill in a way you wouldn't expect.
Yep, pretty much. So anyway, that's an update on that. Very interesting. I could ramble on all day about it, and I could also ramble on and on about how unintuitive League of Legends is.
Well, I mean, like, that sounds like that'll
another day.
That sounds like that'll basically be what your YouTube series is you just pointing out, like, all these different tactics. And honestly, that sounds pretty interesting to me. I'll be watching it.
So, yeah, what it's kind of going to be, though, is it's kind of like a combination of that, and then also kind of like a drama or something like that of, like having, me or someone else can, like, record the matches and then, like, record the people going up against, and then kind of, like, just faking some, think of it like a TLC reality show, except a lot less trashy.
Okay.
And then there you go.
So, it sounds like you have really big plans in the works. I mean, I always do, but...
You have really big plans in the works. It's just, you're not as grand at describing it like I am.
Yeah, at the moment, all I'm really working on is, as I said before, the draft that I'm working on, and the demo. I'm definitely going to be doing the demo. It's all written out. It's ready to go. It's really hard to find time to record. I'm hoping I can do it before I move, but once I move, I'm going to have so much more recording time, so it may have to wait till then. I'm really hoping not, because I want to get it done beforehand so I can get some revenue coming in before I move, so that when I move, I already have revenue streams going, but it'll work out however it works out. So that's pretty much all that's going on with me. And as far as new projects go, there's one that we probably will be doing that we're going to be brainstorming after we record. So for the moment,
yes,
we're going to keep it secret, but next podcast we will definitely... We'll hopefully have already started it, and then if it's... hopefully have already started it, and then we'll tell you a lot more about it, and... Yeah, get excited, because I think it's going to be
really
good.
Fun, though. It's going to be great. It's going to be, especially with someone like me who fails a lot.
Oh, same here.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be interesting. We'll definitely get into it.
Spoil it, but it's going to be fucking great.
Yeah, we'll get into it next week when we have a better idea of what we're actually doing. So, any new projects for you, or is that the main thing?
Outside of the fact that I need to just make as many, like, internet marketing things as possible and then sell them, not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Well, in that case, let's move on to our business focus. And my business focus is nothing really major, I could say, but it's very important for reasons that I said I'd be getting into, and here we go. So, used car dealers, at least the ones I've dealt with, are scumbags. I bought a car that I bought it $500 down with $2,500 to pay. At like $100, a little under $100 every couple weeks, and yeah, I ended up putting $1,000 of repairs into it within the first couple months. After 4 months, it completely broke down, head gaskets out, no way I'm gonna be able to repair it. I had my partner Coco, her grandpa, we gave him some money to tow it. Apparently he didn't do that because I got a letter this last week saying that it was at a tow yard and it had already been there for about a week, so I had about 2 weeks to pick it up before it would get auctioned off. Because it's already undrivable for me, there's no way I can go physically get it. That's important for this. I couldn't physically get it. Financially, I could have gotten it, but physically, I could not actually go and get it. So, I decided I would talk to the car dealership, and I would ask them, what is the best course of action here? Should I just keep paying and then, it'll go to auction? Or would you guys prefer to go and pick it up and resell it to try and, get some more profit on it as a voluntary repossession? I figured I'd call them and work out options. I was smart enough because if you go on either app store, Apple App Store, or you go on Google Play Store, you can find free apps which let you record your phone calls, much like the one I'm using here for Skype. And I downloaded one and I figured, this might be something where I'll need a record of it, so I figured I'd record it. I'm really glad I did, because what happened still infuriates me. Basically, as soon as I explain the situation, they immediately threatened a lawsuit. They immediately threatened to garnish my wages. The second I tried to bring up any options, I said voluntary repossession, asking if that would be a good cause, not saying that I wanted to do it. They immediately took that as me saying that I wanted to. They wouldn't let me speak. Oh god, I might edit some of these phone calls in, because like I said, I recorded them. They started hanging up on me anytime I called. They stated that they would be going to get the car, and this is where this is important. They stated they would be going to get the car before 6 p.m. They closed, their deadline for a payment is 6 p.m., which means they enacted the repossession prior to the deficiency in the payment, which means that was an illegal repossession. And I have proof of that. I'm assuming they don't realize that I recorded the calls, because they still threatened a lawsuit and they still would not answer my calls. So, in the most likely situation, if it goes to court, I have quite a bit of leeway against them. I'm going to be getting a lawyer because this is still something of a gray area and there's a contract involved. But that's only going to be if I get a court summons, which I don't see happening right now, because it's going to be a lot of cost to them for what is not actually that much money they'd be getting.
I want to be honest, from everything you've told me, I am so, envious of you, because if I were in that situation, I would have probably grabbed the phone and threatened this guy's life, and then came to his house with, just a flaming, just torch or something like that.
It's tempting, but, no, I'm just gonna take this serious. I have the recordings. They can't deny that they did that, and that they denied me the ability to make a payment, therefore the repossession was not legitimate.
I'd be a little bit careful with recording calls. I mean, in your state, though, which you're in Washington...
Currently, yeah.
No, Oregon. Wait, you're in Washington?
Yep.
Okay, I thought you were in Portland. Shit.
I'm in Portland right now. I live in Vancouver, which is, right across the border, so I come down to Portland a lot. Okay, so
it's pretty much, right there. Alright, okay. Okay, cool. Well, in certain states, though, it actually is illegal to record calls. I think California is one scenario where it actually is illegal to record calls unless, both parties know that it's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I know this is because of the fucking, Kanye West and Taylor Swift drama that happened, earlier in the year.
Right.
Where Kanye recorded Taylor apparently, signing off on... him being all me and that bitch Taylor still have sex in his fucking famous rap. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen the music video of that, look it up. It is the funniest...
What the hell even was that? I mean, holy crap. Yeah, that video out if you haven't, because, wow.
I mean, it's just... But outside of that, though, this guy... To get back to what we were talking about, this car salesman was, the biggest asshole I've ever... And I thought I was an asshole sometimes. In fact, I am an asshole. I'm the kind of asshole who's,
They're Trump supporters, which they decide to put on their business sign outside of their business, so, I mean, that's professional.
Well, I'm sure doing something like that in a liberal place like Vancouver's... Yeah. Really going
well, the area of Vancouver I live in is actually pretty conservative, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really residential, and I don't care for it. But
okay, that explains that.
It makes sense that they're Trump supporters because they run their business exactly like he would. It's so shady. It's so backhanded. Towards the end of these calls, I believe the last time before they finally wouldn't even pick up the phone, they literally pick it up and just hang right up without even speaking. The last thing they said was that I stated that I had a copy of the contract in the car, which I guess they thought meant I had my only copy in there, because they said perfect and hung up. So they're glad that I don't have a copy of my contract, which is pretty fucked up. So I mean,
well, first of all, I want to say these are some pretty bad salesmen if they're clearly being so devious and whatnot.
Yeah, no, they're terrible salesmen. When I got the car, literally, I looked at the cars, and the guy didn't even say anything. He just stood there, and he's like, this is a car. And I was like, okay.
It sounds to me like the only reason why people end up buying from these people is because they desperately need a car. Not because of the fact that they're good salesmen.
That's the thing, is, this car it was a 40%... seriously, that's the only thing they could try and get me in court, is that it's oh, we need to, be able to recover our losses, which is nonsense, because they've already gotten, $1,700 more than the thing is worth, because it was a 40% profit on the down payment alone. This thing is a piece of crap. Like, if they had if they had fixed it up, like, I immediately had to switch out the brakes. The mechanic said, like, these are the worst I've ever seen brakes in my entire career. It's like, if they had fixed it up, it might have been worth $2,000. Definitely not the $3,000 that they were asking for. And I'm just like, I've already put almost $2,000 into it. I'm not giving them any more money. They don't get any more of my money. If they want to take me to court, I'll deal with it. Because you know what? If I get a lawyer, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position.
You know, on the subject of cars and stuff like that, because we're also on so big a business focus. If you've been listening to this podcast, I think I brought up the fact that, like, earlier in the year, sorry to spur, I was going through a lot of, like, stuff. I was kind of sort of insane, like, just completely insane earlier in the year. I did not have a clue how to act. I couldn't, like, handle myself emotionally. I couldn't handle myself physically. I was pretty much a wreck. In the middle of this wreck, I'm like, I'm going to become a multi-billionaire, and I'm going to drive a Lamborghini at the end of the year, which doesn't really look like it's going to happen. But the thing is, I decided to be public with this. So I decided to go online, and I joined a fucking forum dedicated to some shitty, like, entrepreneur forum or some shit. And I posted. And, you know, the second I posted, you know, obviously I get some flack and people like, fuck you, loser, and I felt embarrassed. I won't lie. And the thing is I deserve to be ridiculed because that's kind of an embarrassing post. But something I did actually learn from business as I was doing that is this was a site dedicated to some guy who was like, you know, oh my gosh, you know, don't listen to any of those other internet gurus. They're just out for your money. But listen to me. I'll teach you how to get rich if you give me money. Like one of those kinds of things. And completely forget the hypocrisy of it. If you actually look into the forum there, and you actually look at the people who are there, you know, you have a lot of people who are there trying to get rich. But the thing is only like 1% of them actually are rich. And of those 1%, I'm pretty sure half of them are fucking lying. And of those who are not lying, they all got lucky. Every single one of them got lucky. And the reason I know this is because anyone who actually gets rich is not going to be going online and just openly advocating how they got their funds and stuff like this. In fact, if they truly did become a millionaire, they're probably going to be too busy making more money than just pretty much getting like a bunch of like random hacks on the internet to just fork them over some cash.
Right, that's like, the thing, is like that's what I found out while I was researching this whole car situation, is that they'll threaten lawsuits, most car dealers, but in reality most of them won't go through with it because they're in the business of selling cars, they're not in the business of making lawsuits. If they do that, it's going to take up so much of their time and resources that it's not even really worth it to them. They just will eat the costs and just deal with it.
Exactly. So, I mean, you know, in a way, I will kind of say it is somewhat hypocritical because I'm over here selling, you know, just money-making methods that I can confirm actually work because I've, you know, done them in the past. But if you see, the people who go out there and, you know, just want to get rich for the sake of, you know, join all these groups about, you know, I'm going to teach you how to make all this money and stuff like that, they always fail. And they either always fail or they just so happen to get lucky with something. And they don't really understand, you know, why it is that they got the money. They think they do. But, like, they always got lucky. And the biggest reason is because, you know, their why do I want to get the money is always off. It's always, like, they care about the fucking, like, bank notice. And when they don't get it, they get really sad and then they quit. Mm-hmm. It's either they get sad or they quit, or they just so happen to get lucky and strike a gold. The thing is less than 1% of the people out there are actually going to get lucky. And of the 99% who didn't, they're not going to be sitting around fucking around on some fucking internet forum with everyone out there just asking, how do I get rich? How do I make money? How do I do this? So, like, if you're listening to this and you want some business advice, never, ever, ever, ever go to a fucking networking event. Like, go to events all the time, but never, ever, ever go to an event just dedicated to networking with other people.
Right, that's the thing, is like, if you do like online stuff, go to a convention. Like, if you do like anime reviews on YouTube, go to like an anime convention and like talk to people through that, but don't go to like something that's like, it's a business networking, because all you're going to find is other people who are trying to network. You're not going to find anybody who's actually worth networking with.
Exactly. And of the people out there who are like pretty much trying to be all like, okay, then, well, if you pay me, I'll teach you how to be rich. Like, unless they're telling you like a certain type of method or something like that, do not buy into it. Like, fucking do not, because anything they're selling you, you can probably find online, or it's complete horse shit.
Yeah, it's the Good Will Hunting thing where he's like, most of your college education you can just find with the cost of the late fees at your local library. It's like most of these things you can find as free resources. It's just people aren't willing to look and they don't have the dedication to actually make it happen.
Exactly, and it blows my mind so much because it's like people spend sometimes. No, like it's so weird. Sometimes they make millions in their lifetime, but they're not going to know it because they're too busy spending it on these pretty much like con artists who are pretty much conning them out of giving them like a membership fee to get, you know, some like fucking special access threads on some website, or oh my gosh, here are some gold nugget books that, you know, you will get free access to if you pay me $200 a month.
Webinars, biggest racket on the
internet.
It is
so fucking, yes, absolutely. Webinars are a pretty bad example of
Which
that.
The smart person is the one who's making those, not the person who's watching those.
Oh, exactly. Pretty much. And it's so screwed up. I mean, like, at the same time, though, I feel kind of bad because in a way, you know, you could easily come up and tell me, like, oh my god, Christian, you're pretty much selling pipe dreams as well. You're pretty much selling, you know, here's how to make money. I think the difference with my stuff, though, is, like, I'm not charging, like, $200 a month for some shit that doesn't even work. The kind of shit that I'm trying to sell, like, I know actually works because it's actual, like, systems. It's not just systems, it's, like, actual kind of, like, just plans and stuff that work. Like, case in point, I'm working on one right now, which shows, you know, kind of, like, the way of, you know, how, let's say, how you would make a lot of money off of, like, an affiliate product using, like, email lists and shit like that, which is, you know, in layman's terms, you get, like, a big email list, and then, like, 1% of those people on this email list will buy something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's actually some solid advice that a lot of people don't seem to realize. I mean, like, I certainly wish I knew that when I first started doing, like, you know, email lists and internet marketing and shit. But then you have all these other people who, you know, I'm not going to name any names here, but you can find them all over the internet where it's like they create these communities and stuff, and then they pretend to be your friend and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no point in naming names because there's so many out there and they're all basically the same person.
Absolutely. They are pretty much all this. Like, they're different people, but they're the exact same, like, type of snake oil salesman.
Exactly.
Exact same type of person.
So that's your business focus, and we're getting some surprisingly good content. I was not expecting it, considering how little we had going on in a week.
I was not expecting it, either. Yeah, this is probably one of the shittiest weeks for both of us, but this is probably one of the more interesting episodes we've had.
Yes.
Hopefully the audio sounds good, unlike last week where something weird happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to be the best, but, you know, this is more about the content than the audio, generally, but...
Yeah, true.
So, I'm going to give you a quick update on my move before we reiterate our goals, but right now, I'm definitely moving. I am working out shipping a bunch of my stuff over, and I actually bought the train ticket. I'm leaving December 13th, and I'll be there December 17th. That's a 4-day train ride, which is going to be interesting.
You're taking a train?
I'm taking a train. Because, I mean, it costs about the same as a plane, but it's a lot nicer.
You got a point there.
Yeah, it's going to be... I'm going to have, like, 5 times the space. I'm going to have access to Wi-Fi and, like, actual electrical outlets, so it's going to be a lot nicer to take.
You also have the experience of taking a train, which is something that is like, almost like a dying thing in America.
Exactly. The main people who do it are train fanboys.
I know, it's so sad, too, because it's like, the biggest issue with trains is that, like, trains in America just aren't really that good compared to, like, flying or something. Actually, they're good, but they're just really slow. That's the issue. They're really slow compared to, like,
true.
flying.
Once planes came around, they became mildly obsolete. Like, a lot of people still like to do it, but it's pretty much just a novelty.
Pretty much. And it's so funny, though, is, actually, when Bill Clinton was president, he actually signed, something into action that was pretty much going to say, you know, we're going to put a high speed rail, you know, throughout the United States that would pretty much allow you to get to, like, one end of the United States to the other within, like, 10 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty big, but...
That would have been cool, but it would have been pretty dangerous.
You want to know what happened, though?
What?
Like, Delta Airways and American Airlines and stuff like that, they all lobbied against it.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's the same as
destroyed their business.
That's the same as like public transit. Public transit was great in the 30s. Like you looked at the streetcars in LA, it was some of the best public transit in the world. But then Goodyear, who make tires, and General Motors and a few other auto groups came together and they used their money to buy the red car, which was the streetcar, and dismantle it, replace it with buses, which use Goodyear tires and General Motors motors and freeways and stuff, which is way worse as far as infrastructure goes, but for them it's a lot more profitable. You might also recognize that as the plot of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah, that movie is true. Aside from the cartoons, that's exactly what happened in the 30s.
I never knew that! Holy shit!
Yeah, that's what happened. He bought up the red car, dismantled it, there you go.
Oh my god. Dude, holy shit. I learned something today.
Right.
I learned something today.
So let's move on. Let's finish this up with our quarterly goals. As before, I'm going to finish scripting Hunter's Moon, full script finished by December 31st, 2016. I'm taking off the Mr. Cake Dragon Man goal because, unfortunately, due to some changes in priority and a lot of really deep family stuff that's happening to him, he's probably not going to be able to manage that this quarter. So I'll get back with him once he's dealt with more personal issues. But for now, I'm just going to focus on Hunter's Moon.
Okay, first off, I'm not gonna lie. When you said I'd taken him off, I was totally expecting you just to let loose and just complain about him.
No, I mean it's understandable. He's going through college. He doesn't have a ton of money. He's got personal drama going on. So
okay, well,
for now, I'm just gonna push that back a little bit and come back with it next quarter to see if it does anything.
Well, my quarterly goals are the same. I want to be able to just, at the very least, get the financial things of my, series and stuff going. Because, that's probably the biggest thing that's holding me back. Is, I could sit here and technically work on my stuff all day, but, unless I have the money, and, which, money is a tool. And it's a tool that, unfortunately, you need. And it's if you don't have the money, you can't afford to get help. You can't afford to pretty much help yourself. And I need to be able to get that. And it's so stupid because I know I can get it. I've just been so terrified of my own success that I just haven't done it.
Oh yeah,
money
is the greatest resource you can have, because if you have money, then you can get pretty much anything else you need.
Pretty much.
Okay, and then our goals for the week, I'm going to take the character demo off again because recording time is hard to find, and I'm just going to focus full tilt on Hunter's Moon, finishing the first draft. I'm a little under halfway done. I know I can finish it in a week if it's all I'm focusing on, so it is going to be all I'm focusing on. So that's going to be my goal for the week. Next podcast, I will have it finished.
Yes, weekly goals for me are to be able to get some financial stuff up and going, get the finances going, because I know I can get it going because I've done similar crap like this in the past. I also am going to be getting myself a Microsoft Connect, like I talked about earlier. I also need to have the character designs done for at least 5 of the things that I was trying to do. I don't have to have the full everything finished, everything written, but the character designs need to be there.
Absolutely.
Also, I keep saying I'm going to visit someone in Indiana. I need to do that, which I need financial, money and stuff to do it. And I also have to go to some Hillary Clinton event on Tuesday. So
we'll be hearing about that next week, I'm sure.
Yes, we will, especially if Trump wins, because holy...
I don't think he was lagging behind by 30% last I checked. I mean, he bumped up a little bit, but I don't think he's gonna... He
bumped up a little bit, but the other thing is apparently there's been such a ridiculously high turnout of Latino voters.
Yeah,
Trump's
which is
pretty much pissed off every single one of them. So
it's good that that's the case, because they are definitely. That's the thing, is more than anything, vote. If you're hearing this, I'm gonna try and put this out before the election happens. Vote. Just go do it. You can. If you don't do it, you're a piece of crap. Also, don't vote third party. You're an idiot if you do. I'm sorry. It's just all of the third party candidates combined are below the margin of error. They're inconsequential. You're wasting your vote if you go for any one third party. Just vote for one of the two parties. I'm going to say Hillary, but I mean, I don't really care for Hillary, but she's my official candidate for the podcast. I'm saying she's officially endorsed by this podcast just because Trump cannot win. I'm sorry. Trump will fuck us so much harder than anybody else could.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to vote for Trump, I really don't care. Because to be honest with you, these are actually some decent reasons why you would vote for him. It's just, for the kind of stuff that I'm doing, I'm sorry, but Trump has said very publicly that he wants he kind of wants to shut off the United States from the rest of the world in a way.
Yeah, which is a stupid
for someone
idea.
like me who wants to focus on much more global type things with my work, it's not really the best idea. So I'm sorry.
There's nothing good about removing globalization.
Yeah, no, especially not when we live in a global society. I mean,
yeah,
it's one thing to stop free trade, which is something he said he wants to do. It's another thing for him to just kind of outright shut us all up from the world, which is something that he doesn't explicitly say, but it's pretty clear that's the path he wants to go towards.
Yeah, which if you look at Japan if you look at Japan when that happened until Commodore Perry came in and basically forced them to open trading routes again, things went a little nuts. So
yeah, Japan really got themselves screwed over when they did that. So
all right, so that will do it for this week. Let's go through our social media really quick. My social media, if you want to find me on Twitter, it's @DapperJackery. Tumblr, it's chaotic-adorable.tumblr.com. YouTube.com/user/Iggy and the Ape. Facebook, it's IggyKid, and Gmail, it's iggydkid@gmail.com.
Yes, and as for me, I'm working on my Twitter. I'm still kind of in the same situation where I'm not going to tweet much, but I have a lot more stuff together. But it's Chris Hansen 1994, and I also have an Instagram now, which is Chris Hansen 1994, which is kind of the same thing. But I'm going to be just kind of post a drawing or something that I do every now and then on there. So feel free to follow that for weird art. A couple days ago, I uploaded this weird picture of a naked girl that I drew with pen ink or whatever, that I thought actually looked pretty cool. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I saw that when you dropped in the chat there. That was pretty sweet.
Okay, sweet. So, awesome. He approves of it.
All right, and then the social media for the show itself on SoundCloud, which is probably where you're listening to this, soundcloud.com/OR2S podcast. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Our Road to Success Show. On Twitter, we're @OR2S podcast. On Gmail, we're Our Road to Success Show @gmail.com, which is where you should send all your feedback is to the Gmail. That's it for this week on Our Road to Success. Remember that everyone has their own road. We know you'll find yours. Happy trails.
Yes. Happy trails, friends.